Hello, everyone, and welcome to 180 Degrees of Impact. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Vivien. Hey, Vivien, how are you
Hey,
doing? How are you doing today?
doing well. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. And I know I can't do your experience justice and your introduction justice, so I'd love if you could introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure. My name is Vivien Luk. I'm the executive director of Team Tassie. We're an organization that accompanies families in Haiti out of poverty through good, dignified jobs.
Oh, wow. And so nice, short, and sweet. And I think it's powerful because the work that you do is a lot more nuanced than that. And that's one reason I'm actually really excited to have this conversation, to learn about it, to understand it, and to really get a better sense of like what goes into working with that community, especially like being people who are living in the US, overseas in Haiti. But first and foremost, could you tell me about the founding narrative? Like, why was Team Tassie founded?
Yeah, absolutely. So Team Tassie was founded in 2010 after the earthquake in Haiti that killed 300,000 people and displaced about 1.5 million people. At the time, our founder, Ian Rosenberger, went to Haiti to see what he could do to help. And during his week there, he met a lot of people, and amongst them is a kid named Tassie. Tassie had a tumor on his cheek, and he had it for about 7 years, but because of the earthquake, his nurses and doctors who were going to operate on him again had died under the rubbles of the earthquake. So at the end of Ian's trip, he got the courage up to ask him for help. Ian said yes, and the rest is history.
Oh wow, that's so powerful, and I don't know. At some point, I'll be able to chat with Ian, but I'd love from your perspective to know like why, what was it that motivated Ian to get involved and to take action, as far as you know.
Yeah, I know that he was at a bar and saw Anderson Cooper come on TV to talk about the earthquake, and just in his mind thought, "Wow, what a shame!" And kind of woke up the next morning thinking, that's the best I can do. It's to say, "Wow, what a shame! I need to get my butt down there." That's essentially how it all got started. And I think to his credit and those who were there in the beginning. We didn't stop by saying, well, how do we get this kid his surgery, a surgery that he needed, right, that he can't access in Haiti, but really looking into the root cause, and with the curiosity of looking into that, how did he end up there? So that really started the journey of Team Tassie and of Thread, whom you'll learn a little bit more about as well through Ian.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's powerful to think about how this little like inclination and idea to do something actually blossomed into something great, like almost a decade later. So it's powerful to see all that. How was it that you initially got involved, and what were you doing even beyond that? What were you doing beforehand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was working at a foundation prior to Team Tassie. The foundation provided funding for capacity building, so supporting community development and health-based organizations to end poverty, really, and helping them with capacity, like business plans and marketing plans, mergers and acquisitions. We also funded a portfolio of research that dealt with the capacity of the nonprofit sector, and also created a advocacy organization that advocated on behalf of the nonprofit sector. So that's where I was, and through my time there, I spent a lot of it working on looking at the intersections of nonprofits and for-profits, and how do we solve the world's biggest challenges by merging the assets of the two. And so when I first heard about Team Tassie and got to know about it, along with Thread, it just all made sense. The fact that Team Tassie is an organization that works to prepare the poor for jobs, and Thread was created solely to create dignified work for families that we serve. So it just made a lot of sense to use, the market power for good, but also recognizing the strong points of a nonprofit and the assets of a for-profit, and merging the two together.
Do you know where that initial passion came from for you? I talk with a lot of people who like have a story about why they're inspired to like embrace impact as opposed to like, necessarily financial gain or a corporate setting. Like what was that for you that got you started?
I was really young and was pushed towards volunteering when I was in seventh grade, and didn't really know what it meant back then. But I stuck with the same organization for about 6 years, and was there consistently. And over time, realized that the movement that they've built to do something as simple as making sure people in the community has access to food was something that felt really powerful to me, and felt that there's a place for everybody in this movement. But for me personally, I wanted to be knee deep in it. I wanted to be a part of it, and to lead it in some way when I grew up one day. So still working towards that. But I'm excited to be doing what I do now.
Awesome. Yeah, it's powerful to see uh, just how that works, because I think about that too as someone who is definitely more interested in like the impact and making change than in the the making money side of things. I think it's so interesting when people choose to do one over the other. Uh, you know, as you said, you want to be knee deep in the movement with that, with the previous organization and now with this. Uh, what are some of the you mentioned Tassie's story, but what are some of the stories that you have seen or heard and learned through your work?
Yeah, there's a collection by now, which is very exciting to be able to reflect on, right? But we have one of our very first family members, Mark Noel. He came to us with two very sick kids. He didn't have a job. He was previously a driver, had lost his license, expired, and he didn't have the money to renew it.
Mhm.
And two of his five kids, his youngest two, were dying of just the simplest things that here in the US we wouldn't even think somebody would die from. And the access for them cost about $310 and a 2 hour drive. And so very early on, they were one of our first family members whom we worked with and whom we continue to learn from, and to figure out, how do we tweak this model so that we can then party for more family members like his. But he is, after we got the surgeries for the little kids and provided the access, all together, we sat down with Mark Noel and his wife, and we asked him, what is it that you need? How can we help you, to get to a point where the next time Ruth needs a medical appointment, you can access that on your own. And that's the end goal, right? To be able to, for a family to be able to take care of themselves, be able to access what they need and have choices in their decision-making process. And so he told us that he used to be a driver, and that if he could be a driver again, he would be able to make a living. And today he is a driver. He's a tap-tap driver, and he's independent, and he drives for all of our visitors, as well as he's a stable tap-tap driver, which is a Haitian taxi in country, making a living for himself. And we're graduating him this year. And his kids have been in school for consecutive years now. In our community, the average dropout age is 10 years old at the third grade. And most kids are about 4 years behind in school when we first meet them. So the fact that two of his boys are going to graduate college, graduate high school, I'm sorry, it's huge. And our conversations with him has shifted from, how do I get my kids to school, to, wow, my kids are going to have a shot at college. How do I help them think about that? And that to me, it's success. That to me, it's, there's nothing in the world I could trade that for.
Yeah, it's real. And I think one thing, and I feel like it's important to say that because there are so many organizations doing great work in different places, different parts of the world, and it could feel so far away. like for me even, it feels so far away. And just hearing you share that story, uh, I feel that much closer to Haiti and to Mark Noel and to that story. Um, how do you typically, and how does Team Tassie typically get people on board to support, especially thinking about people like me and others in the U.S. who feel like it's all so far away?
Yeah, so our service area is in one community. We serve one community called Menelas. There are about 10,000 family members there, and it encompasses the country's landfill as well. And our goal is simple: is to place two heads of households in each of the family into a good, dignified job, so that those families can move themselves out of poverty and also lift their community up on their own, and for good. And so, because we do dig really deep with individual family members one-on-one, we employ the same model in connecting our supporters to the work. We strongly believe in transparency. We believe that our work can be done much quicker if we can involve supporters like yourself and other people with tangible skill sets that could lend to this movement. And so we connect our supporters directly with our family members on a one-to-one basis, with monthly support, but also letter writing and exchanges of information, resources, and then they also tap into several of our engagement programs. One of which you just saw the video for. It's our Run Across Haiti. So we have we host an ultramarathon in Haiti. It's about a 200-mile run coast to coast from the northern part of Haiti to the southern end. It's a 7-day run with 1 day rest in between, and we run to show that Haiti's not a place to be pitied and to be feared. Truly, when we talk about Haiti, one of the first questions we get is, "Oh, how's it going there?" And is it dangerous for you to be there all the time? Truth is, it's not. Just like visiting anywhere else, you do have to be careful. You do have to be respectful of the local culture. But with those two keys in mind, and knowing who you're going with and having credible sources, you can really make a great trip out of a place like Haiti. The tourism industry there is blossoming too, and we want to showcase that it is a place with a lot of potential, and that we're investing in it because by investing in it, there's a lot that we can solve together.
One thing you mentioned, though, triggered this thought for me. You mentioned kind of like the stereotypes that people might have about Haiti. What are the people in Haiti, the Haitian people that you work with, saying about the U.S. or saying about the supporters? Like, how do they view the work, I guess, is what I'm wondering.
Yeah, so this came very early on. In the very early days in 2011, 2012, it was just me and Ian really, figuring out what we're doing. And so, frequently we would be in Haiti and we would go from one family member's house to the next. And we spent hours talking with them about what's going on with their family, providing resources from funds raised in the US, and figuring out next steps and building a plan together. And every trip, at the end of every trip, our families would think that we're never coming back, and that this would be it. And so it took about a full year and a half of us coming back on a regular basis for them to realize that we're here to stay, that we're not just like any other visitors or aid organization that comes and drops off a bag of rice or whatever it is, right? Clothing, and leaves, right? And I think that's the key to the difference in our work, but also speaks volume to the way the Haitian people have been treated by the international aid community as well. I think initially they saw Americans with people with a lot to give, but not people who are willing to give what is actually needed. We had a quote from Mark Noel early on. One day we sat down with him and said, "What's the difference? What's keeping you opening your door to us every time we're here?" And he said, Your organization is different because we actually get to work together on my needs, and you find ways to help me with them. You don't come into my house and say, this is what I have to give and this is all you're going to take. This is what you have to take. But instead, it's a partnership. I think that speaks volume to just how aid and how our country's being viewed in those situations too.
Yeah, and that's amazing to hear. That ties in with a few different things for me. And I think about aid in the sense of what you're doing, but I think of a lot of different organizations that are doing work where like they're stopping in or they're dropping something off, whether that's like providing a service for a day or for a week or for a year and then leaving the community, instead of really understanding where the needs are. And one thing that my organization Second Muse has done was create something called the Need Finding Framework around internet freedom in Uganda and a few other countries. And basically the idea is like understanding what the community wants rather than assuming and then throwing in a solution.
Right.
How do you go about, other than just those conversations, or maybe that is the key part of it, how do you go about really understanding what will add value for the community members?
Yeah, I think it's building it into our culture, right? And always making sure that any decisions we make, that it's made alongside the family members whom we're serving. We're now building out a leadership group within the community because we have families who are graduating and who are now spreading the word about the work that we do. So it's no longer going to take 2 years of going from door to door and to build trust, right? Which is the fundamental piece of driving all of this and being able to have these shared conversations. But a lot of the families who are in the next blocks are now ready to go. They know exactly how we work, and they know that they get to voice their opinion as much as we do in how we work together and how we collaborate. And then internally within our team, again, it's building in that culture that we don't move forward unless we know that our family members have had a voice in it, have approved the next steps, and that they're going to be a part of it. So all of the staff we have in country are Haitians, and they're from the community. They drive the work really, and we're here to support and make sure that it's implemented with the right resources.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear like that you're doing this work in a way that is like responsible, or as responsible as possible, working with the community, because I'm glad that that's more of a concern and a thought now in the 2010s or in 2017 this year, because I know that decades ago, that was a big concern. Like, oh, we were doing this work that we thought was helpful, and maybe it wasn't. Again, like you were saying, dropping off a bag of rice, for instance. If there was one thing that you wish you would have known in starting this work back then that you know now, what would that piece of advice be that you'd give yourself? It does seem like incredibly complex work, and so I'm sure that you've learned a lot along the way.
Yeah, I would probably tell myself to just never quit. It's hard, it's emotional, and it's lives. It's people's lives, and you're in their homes. You're working together to figure out how to get this done, and it's not easy. And I would say bring as many people on board as you possibly can, who can talk about the work alongside you and who can support this. It's not something you can do alone, and it's not something that you can quit either. The commitment, the trust is foundational to this work getting done, as is having help and support to get it done. So, I think a lot of people find a lot of entrepreneurs start things because they have a great idea and they have a lot of drive, right? Mm-hmm. But the process is it's a roller coaster. There are peaks and valleys, and there are days you think, wow, like I think I need to quit and do something else. And, this is it. But I think for every one of those valleys, for every time you fight back, you are 10 times stronger and your peak gets higher. And so it's easy to say that along the way. It's hard to know what that is. And, we're still finding it in a lot of ways. And I don't think that, it's a fight worth fighting if we're going to stop following those roller coaster rides that comes along the way. So, yeah, I think, be patient, ride through it, really, and that there's going to continuously be a roller coaster ride as long as we're doing the work right.
Yeah. What are some of those peaks that you experience, though? Like those moments where, because I think about it from my own experience, like doing a ton of different things where I'll just stop and breathe and think, wow, like I'm doing this and I'm so happy to be here, and I couldn't see myself being anywhere else. Like, what are some of those peak moments for you?
Yeah. I think working to celebrate the small milestones are equally key as is working to celebrate the big ones, right? So as simple as having our first hire in Haiti, was huge for us. That person's still here. He's now our country manager and crushing it. Absolutely. It's huge. And the fact that now he's hiring other people to work under him and he's the leader, and, we're not doing the hiring from the US. He's really taking it on. I think that's huge. Obviously having family members work and be able to support their own, and for us to be able to start graduating key family members whom we've had since day one. Those are huge milestones for us. This coming year in 2018, we will double the number of runners we'll have for the Run Across Haiti, and in turn double the number of Haitian family members who are working on the crew for us. And we'll have also a non-seasonal position created because of the growth of the run. Those are all key milestones that we do celebrate internally, and we try to shout it out loud as much as we can, because for every full community of 10,000 people who are out of poverty, you got to start with the 1 and the 5s and the 10s, getting those folks into jobs. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, though, that as you're doing this work, you're also, in a sense, kind of like slowly working, or actually it seems pretty quick to me, you're quickly working to like make your organization obsolete, like over time. And I don't know how much time that will be, but like eventually with all of the growth you're doing and the jobs that you're creating, you're helping evolve and empower the community, or help the community find empowerment themselves. And that is like, not, it's hard to explain. So that's something that is really brave to do in a way, because it's thinking like, my goal is to end the work that I'm doing, the work that's like my life, which is not something that most people want to do. So I absolutely applaud that. I'd love to know, as we like get toward the end, what's your vision for the future of Team Tassie?
Yeah, I think we definitely want to be able to scale this model to other places, whether it's in Haiti or in other countries. Working alongside our sister company Thread, we've been able to start working in the landfills and figuring out how to end child labor as an initiative together. We call it the First Mile Coalition, and we launched it last year with Thread, Timberland, HP, and a local organization called ACOP. So we love to see that work grow. Again, it's marrying the key assets of for-profit and nonprofits, right? So we're coming in to provide services to the children and families who are in landfill, so that they have a choice in deciding whether or not they want to collect bottles for an income, right? That kids are now in school instead of staying home and working in landfill because they didn't have access, or because they are put in this position to take care of their family as a head of household at 10 years old. So that's an initiative that we love to continue to grow. And again, once we work ourselves out of this landfill, I'm sure there'll be other landfills, but growing that work so that we can together completely end child labor in these situations and in supply chains, especially. It's a initiative that we want to focus on next. So a lot of work to do, and we're also working to focus more of our time on job creation and job training at a larger scale. So that's going to be a big next step for us also. But once that's all done in Haiti and Menelaus, we do envision going to other communities and other countries where this kind of a model is needed.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, thank you. But also, I'm excited to see the growth of what you do over time. I do have one last question, just thinking about your story and, what you aim to accomplish. If looking back, your life were a book or documentary, this is my favorite question. What would the title be and why?
Goodness, this is a hard question. Let's see. I would probably call it something along the lines of this, the power of dignified work. I do think that it doesn't just resonate with the families whom we serve, but it resonates with all of us, right? I was asked a question the other day, if I had all the money in the world and I could do anything I want with my time and as a job, what would it be? And quite simply, it's what I do now. The joy and the pride that something my work gives me. It's paramount. It's what dignity is about too, right? And I think by understanding what that means for ourselves helps us understand what that means for other people. And I do think that it's important that everybody finds that, not just the families whom we serve, but people who are not born in Haiti, who are born in more privileged circumstances. What does dignified work mean, and how do you get there? And it's since been pretty much a career for me to help others find that, and to especially in the service in Haiti and where we work. But it's also a message that I think should be brought to everybody out there.
And I think it's powerful to see that you're doing such an effective job of getting the word out as an organization. Where can people find more about Team TASSE and about the work that you do?
Yeah, so www.teamtasse.org, and it's TASSE spelled TASSY. And we're at Team TASSE on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well.
All right. Thank you, Vivien. Much, much appreciated. And as we wrap up, I'd like to tell the audience that if you want to learn more about 180 Degrees of Impact, visit www.lets.care, at Let's You Care on Twitter, or facebook.com/Let's You Care. So thanks again, Vivien.
Thank you.
No, much appreciated.
It was a pleasure.
For anyone who's watching, until next time, keep impacting.